Well, Sego, Scano, thanks so much, Nyawa, for coming and just sitting down with us for a second. I'm glad that our paths have finally crossed. We've been watching your water journey, water walker, inspired by it and driven by it. One of the things that we're doing is a new podcast to share Indigenous voices and to amplify them in mainstream media. So why do you feel like it's important that we share our stories, that our stories are being told, that we're being represented in film, documentaries, in music and media?
Well, this kind of ties into one of the main reasons why I do my work, and one of those reasons being Indigenous issues are not talked about, and like proper and appropriate information about Indigenous people is not there's not enough appropriate information, I guess I could say, and I feel like it could be talked about a lot more. Not only Indigenous issues, but about Indigenous people in general, because I found in growing up there's not a lot of good information about Indigenous people, and so I feel like being able to express that through my work, through documentaries, through things that I see, through different projects, I think it's very important that that's kind of like spread out that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our main theme with Seeing Red is to have so that we are seeing red on the Grammy red carpets. We're seeing red on the charts. We're seeing red in the theaters. Why do you think it's important that organizations and movements like this exist?
Well, it's kind of the same answer, just being able to spread, and bring awareness to Indigenous people and acknowledge our history and being able to just talk about it, because these things were not talked about, and even before I started doing my work, the stuff that I talk about was not talked about, and so being able to find and have things that kind of like talk about it and bring that awareness to people, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, is again very important.
That was one thing that I found, was how many people didn't realize the water issues. Like I went to Niskandaga and they have 27 years of boil water advisory and no one knows about it. But you have like Walkerton water crisis and it's 10 days, everybody knows about it, it's taken care of. So such a different experience as an Indigenous person. So what are some of the projects that you're working on right now? What do you got coming up?
As of right now, my schedule is pretty clear because I was actually recently nominated for the International Children's Peace Prize, which is kind of like, we're keeping that open right now because, I'm gonna have to do some big travel for that. So there's not anything too exciting planned, and it's pretty clear right now because I'm in school, officially in post-secondary, so
amazing.
It's not too busy.
What are you taking?
Well, I'm currently taking an Indigenous Studies program, but I do plan on, after second semester's done, I do plan on applying to university, and applying to like international and global studies and like political science.
Amazing.
I do plan on going to like politics and law. So
yeah, we need more Indigenous voices in there. If you could tell the world something, if you could give a message and have Canada, the world, the youth hear it, what would it be?
I think my message would be that we need to empower our youth and our young people because, with the work that I do, I see a lot of youth, and I do feel like there is a lot of room for empowerment that needs to be done. And that's one of the main roles of my work that I do. That the job that I carry is empowering youth, and I think that it's so important because the youth voices are so powerful. And that's something that I've learned throughout my work and my journey, because when the message is coming from a young person, whether that's Indigenous or non-Indigenous, the message is so much more powerful because you generally wouldn't think that a young person is going to speak up and talk about these types of things, whether that be like political or world issues. So it's so important, and that's when you know something is wrong, that's when you know something has to be done, because a child or a youth should not have to speak up and use their voices. But when we do, it's powerful. So I encourage people to empower the youth, and whether that be your niece, nephew, cousin, empowering youth is very important.
Amazing, for sure. And I guess one of the things that I want to share with our audience is just some advice on the challenges that you've faced, because it's not an easy journey. It's not an easy process to keep sharing our stories, to keep talking, and to keep doing this. What would you say has been some of the big challenges, and how have you faced it?
Well, I've faced a lot of bullying from peers and people around my age, and that definitely was a difficult time for me. I feel like I'm kind of growing out of the bullying now because I'm getting a bit older. But when I did go through that, it was, again, very hard, but it's really learning, like, what to put your energy into, and just really not paying attention to it, and just not really caring what other people think, because what I was doing at least was very, very important, and I felt like it doesn't really matter what people think or say, because I'm doing something that needs like change and needs the voice that I have, and like I guess the message that I'm carrying is very important. That's kind of what I looked at. And another thing for me was my Auntie Josephine. And my Auntie Josephine was doing this work long before me, before I was even born. And before she passed away, I was with her, and she had like whispered in my ear to never stop doing the work, don't let anybody stop me, and to just keep loving the water. And so that kind of like always sticks with me every time that I feel kind of like discouraged or a bit less empowered. But it's another thing also, I guess, is knowing that there's like young kids looking up to me, and just kind of like hearing their little things, like saying like, oh my gosh, like you're like Moana, and then they think I'm like this like Disney or superhero. So just like what kind of mentor or like role model will I be if I kind of like let people get to me and like give up? So it's like those kind of things I like to remind myself when times get a little tough.
Yeah, and it's important for the youth to see, someone like them, to see them represented in movies and films, and it gives them, if she can do it, I can do it, Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Autumn. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
I know we got lots of meet and greet to do out there, but just taking that time to share your story, it's inspiring. Awesome. Loves. Yoa.